JT dance move. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to John Dudley Speaks. I'm your host. I'm sorry, my Prada's at the cleaners, along with my hoodie and my fuck you flip-flops, you pretentious douchebag. Today's episode of John's Perspective is brought to you by falsettos. Woo! Justin Timberlake really needs no introduction, but I'll try my best to give him one. Hailing from the mega famous boy band NSYNC, JT struck out on his own in 2003, instantly garnering fame with his massively successful debut, Justified, a fun pop R&B hybrid record that has surprisingly aged really well in terms of its simplistic approach to songwriting and production, but that was just a small precursor to his widely renowned 2006 album Future Sex Love Sounds, which contained total smackers like Sexy Back, Loved Stoned, My Love, Summer Love, and What Goes Around Comes Around. It's genuinely one of the most forward-thinking pop albums of the 2000s due to its synthetic, stripped-back appeal, and it doesn't get nearly enough credit for its impact on modern pop. After a hiatus focused mainly on acting, JT came back to the musical spotlight in 2013 with the double release of The 2020 Experience, a smart fusion of big band and synth pop with an R&B and hip-hop twist that contained honestly some of the biggest hits of his career. Another hiatus full of acting preceded JT's 2018 album Man of the Woods, which in my opinion is his very first miss. The conjoined pop R&B and countrified funk is a mix that doesn't fit JT's delivery all that well. And while it does have its moments, it just lacks the visceral bite that his earlier work had. So now, after yet another acting hiatus that kept him away for 6 years, JT is back with his 6th full-length record, Everything I Thought It Was. The question is there still room for JT in the modern pop landscape? Can he still bring the magic? The answer is, well, yes and no.
3, 2, 1,
As JT albums go, this is probably the most sprawling that he's ever been. Not when it comes to scale, but when it comes to variety. He's bringing modern pop stylings, R&B, trap, EDM, rock, and literal disco vibes all together. Yet it's still got that classic JT pristine polish, which can be to its detriment at times, but overall it is a fairly entertaining mix. The opener, Memphis, does overstay its welcome a little bit, but the Kendrick Lamar influenced vocal distortions and spare trap instrumentation really enhance Justin's lyricism and performance as it establishes the album's aesthetic quite authoritatively. On the other hand, Fuckin Up the Disco and No Angels are euphoric blasts with Calvin Harris behind the boards. Justin has Calvin bring his funk wave bounces, blend of playful funk guitars and pulsing dance grooves, evocative of Justin's forward-thinking approach on Future Sex Love Sounds. Except with it being such a melting pot of instrumentation, there are quite a few misses here like Play, Drown, and My Favorite Drug that slip back into Justin's usual problems with excessiveness and self-editing, coming off way too watered down and generic when put up against jams like Infinity Sex and Imagination. Going further, the dance hall detour on Liar is one that just did not click for me. Same for Sanctified, likely the worst song on this record, which is so disjointed and falls into the trappings of Man of the Woods' unholy matrimony of genre blends. Love and War is also one that I like overall, but the mixing and reverb on Justin's voice make his vocals a little grating. So although there is a lot that I had fun with here, I can't help but think that if the lens were refined and focused, that the aesthetic would come off a lot more consistent. I know JT has said that this is his most personal record so far, but I'm not sure that I agree with that, because the lyrics here are very similar to his other records, which isn't a bad thing by any means, relating the themes about sex, love, and fame. It's just the way that he employs them here that's far more interesting than he usually is. Memphis is a bitterly honest depiction of fame that's both vicious and sardonic in its discourse on expectations after superstardom. Songs like Selfish are romantic and unabashedly vulnerable, and though it could be commented that these lyrics are pretty simplistic, Justin comes off as incredibly genuine here. A beating heart at the center of these tracks that feels lost without the love he has in his life. The playful lyrics of the dance pop jams on this one are boatloads of fun, especially Fuckin Up the Disco, No Angels, and Infinity Sex, which are just prime era top 40 JT. He truly does know how to compose a total hit when it comes to hooks and arrangements, and he's no stranger to that on this album. Some of the tracks here, like Drown, have really thin spots that are just a little vague and uninteresting, or the lyrics just get a little repetitive and lack memorability, like on My Favorite Drug, which sort of is a retread of Justified era Justin. And that's not to say there aren't personal songs here amid the hits. The lyrics on Paradise and Alone show that Justin is still able to pen very reflective moments, while he does something more playful and cheekier like on Imagination. And that just shows off the versatility he still has as a pop artist.
Let's go.
Let's be clear, JT's falsettos still hit. His ability to leverage his voice and use it as an instrument in the track through harmonies and double-tracked vocals spotlights his immense talent behind the mic. Selfish is his best exercise in this, providing a more understated performance that highlights his range, and he's able to exemplify this in other songs like Technicolor, showing off his fantastic vocals even when the instrumentals aren't as engaging. Conversely, I loved his carefree performances on tracks like No Angels, Fuckin Up the Disco, and Infinity Sex. And honestly, I would have preferred to hear him in that bag a lot more than him opting for balladry like on Alone. Where JT falters on this record is where he faltered on Man of the Woods, and that's his inability to scale back for quality assurance purposes. I spoke earlier of Love and War, and the dynamics that he plays with are just too jarring for the type of production that he's working with on that track. Other times he does come off a little boring, another problem of his previous album, with What Lovers Do and Drown doing nothing to solidly capture our attention. I loved his performance with In Sync on Paradise, one of the best tracks on this album. He dials back his delivery and saves a lot of his vocal runs for the latter part of the song when he is able to coalesce into the grand chorus with the rest of In Sync. This album is way too long. It's an hour and 17 minutes, and honestly, I feel like there's a 30-minute album in here that could be among his best material. The flow is similar to Man of the Woods in that regard, but I'd say the quality of everything I thought I was is much more consistent. The problem I keep coming back to is that the superfluous ideas really kneecap the juice of the record. So if we didn't have a Sanctified or a Drown or a Liar or Alone, the tracklist wouldn't feel like it's jerking back and forth between styles and identity. And I mean, I expected this to be a problem going into the album when I saw the tracklist for the first time, but at least this time Justin's able to rein it in by the end, with a back end that makes up for an uneven, unfocused midsection. So yeah, I'd say that this is a moderate step up from Man of the Woods that still suffers from the same issues, but overall, JT has an exorbitant amount of charm and skill to be able to pull off a lot of the ideas he's going for on this one. I'm sure a lot of this one will grow on me, but for the ones that I did not connect with at all, I really don't see myself going back to. But that's just my perspective. Make sure you check this one out. If you're a JT fan, there's a lot to love here. And if you're a fan of old-fashioned pop with a lot of genre pastiches mixed in, I'm pretty sure you'll have a good time with this one. Anyway, that's all I got. Bye!